You know that moment when you're lying in bed, scrolling through your phone, and suddenly you see someone living the life you keep dreaming about? Maybe they're getting up early, hitting the gym, building their business, reading all those books collecting dust on your shelf, and right then, something clicks in your mind. You promise yourself, tomorrow, everything changes. You set an early alarm, download a meditation app, maybe even lay out new workout clothes, ready to become the new you. For a day or two, you're on fire. You feel unstoppable. But then reality hits. The alarm starts to feel like your worst enemy. Your phone is filled with endless notifications. That new motivation, it starts to slip away, and those workout clothes, they end up back in the drawer, untouched. If you're nodding along, trust me, I've been there more times than I care to admit. And here's the crazy part. It's not your fault. Look, if you're already thinking about clicking away as soon as someone mentions discipline or morning routines, give me just a few minutes. If this doesn't change the way you see self-improvement, you can close this video and never come back. But if you stick around, I'll show you why everything you've heard about personal growth is missing the point. And what actually works. No superhuman motivation required. The truth is, you're not lazy, broken, or lacking discipline. Most people get stuck in this cycle of motivation and burnout, not because there's something wrong with them, but because we've all been taught the wrong things about self-improvement. The advice out there makes it sound like you just need to try harder, or wake up earlier, or push through with willpower alone. But if that really worked, wouldn't everyone be living their dream life by now? Here's what nobody tells you. Motivation is not what gets results. It comes and goes, and when it fades, you're left feeling frustrated and guilty for not sticking to your plans. But what if I told you there's a different way? One that doesn't rely on willpower or endless motivation hacks. A way that actually fits how your brain is wired. Forget about forcing yourself to be some productivity robot or joining the hustle harder crowd. This isn't about pushing yourself to the edge. It's about understanding the real science behind habits and using that knowledge to make personal growth feel almost automatic. No more fighting against your own brain. It's time to work with it. Science actually backs this up. Research from places like Stanford University shows that our brains are hardwired to seek out the easiest path, to avoid effort whenever possible. That's why willpower fails us again and again. But here's the secret. If you know how your mind works, you can use those same instincts to your advantage. I'm not some superhuman who wakes up at sunrise every day with endless energy. I used to struggle just to focus for 5 minutes, let alone build healthy habits. But once I understood how my brain really works, everything changed. I stopped trying to force myself into routines that never stuck, and I started using a simple system that made growth feel natural, almost automatic. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I went from constantly procrastinating to building real momentum, running a business, hitting the gym regularly, and actually finishing books instead of just buying them. And if it worked for me, it can work for anyone. Let's get into it. Let's start with the one thing that secretly controls almost everything you do: dopamine. That little spike you get every time you check your phone or scroll through social media. That's not just a harmless habit. It's actually rewiring your brain. The urge to grab your phone first thing in the morning is more than just a routine. It's an addiction to quick hits of pleasure, and it's quietly sabotaging your focus for the rest of the day. Here's what I learned. When you flood your brain with dopamine right after waking up, like by checking Instagram or TikTok, you make it way harder to pay attention to anything else. Your mind starts craving more and more of those tiny rewards, and it becomes almost impossible to focus on the things that really matter. So, what's the fix? The most successful people I've studied do something different. For the first hour after they wake up, they stay away from social media completely. If they absolutely have to check something for work, they limit it to emails or urgent messages only. That one simple change lets your brain reset and makes it easier to focus on real goals, not just chasing another notification. Think of your brain like a muscle. Every time you reach for your phone just to scroll, you're training it to crave easy, instant rewards. But the good news is, you can retrain it. I started my mornings differently. Instead of grabbing my phone, I'd do something simple. A short meditation, a few minutes of stretching, or even just taking a walk outside. These little habits don't seem like much, but they actually boost your dopamine in a healthy way, setting you up for better focus all day. Then I'd pick just one important task and dive in. No distractions, no bouncing between tabs, phone in another room. I'd work for about 50 minutes straight, then take a real break. Standing up, getting some fresh air, moving around, maybe a glass of water. The trick is not to touch social media during that break either. It's tempting, but it undoes all your progress. And here's something I wish I'd known sooner. It takes around 20 minutes to get into real focus mode. That's why those short work sprints you hear about often don't work. You're stopping just when your brain is finally getting in the zone. The point isn't that dopamine is your enemy. In fact, it's one of your brain's most powerful tools for motivation and focus, if you use it the right way. Most productivity advice fails because it tells you to rely on willpower, as if you can just force yourself into new habits. But that's not how the brain works. Willpower runs out, especially when your environment is full of easy temptations. The real breakthrough came when I stopped blaming myself for not trying hard enough and started designing my routines around how my mind actually functions. I realized that changing my habits isn't about pushing harder. It's about working smarter, setting up small wins, and letting those wins build on each other. That's when growth becomes automatic. But there's something even more important than changing your actions. It's about changing how you see yourself. Most people make the same mistake when they try to change. They focus only on what they need to do, not on who they want to become. That's why it feels like a constant uphill battle. Every new habit is a chore. Every healthy choice takes extra effort. I was stuck there too, always telling myself, I need to work out, or I should read more, as if those actions would somehow stick just because I repeated them enough. But here's what actually works. Instead of forcing yourself to do something, you shift your identity first. You start seeing yourself as the kind of person who naturally does those things. It sounds weird at first, saying, I'm a reader, before you've even finished a book, or I'm someone who takes care of my health, before you've hit the gym consistently. But something incredible happens when you do. Your brain wants to act in ways that match your self-image. The more you reinforce this new identity, the easier the right actions become. So, every morning, I'd remind myself of the kind of person I was becoming, not just the things I needed to do. Throughout the day, I'd look for small ways to prove it to myself. And at night, I'd reflect on how I lived up to that new identity, even in the smallest ways. But changing how you see yourself is just one part of the puzzle. There's something else that quietly shapes nearly every choice you make: your environment. Most of us think we're making conscious decisions all day, but the truth is, our surroundings are triggering habits without us even realizing it. That snack you didn't plan to eat? It was sitting right there on your desk. That workout you skipped? Your gym clothes were buried somewhere in your closet. The book you never finished? It was out of sight, hidden behind your laptop or your phone. I used to think I just needed more willpower, but science shows that about 95% of what we do each day is automatic, driven by the cues around us, not by conscious effort. Once I understood that, I stopped trying to fight my environment and started to set it up to work for me. I'd leave my phone in another room at night, so I wasn't tempted to check it first thing in the morning. I'd put a book on my pillow so I'd see it before bed. I'd lay out my workout clothes where I couldn't miss them. And I made sure my workspace was clean, with only what I needed for my most important task. It didn't feel like discipline. It just made the right choices obvious, and the distractions a little bit harder to reach. The last thing that changed everything for me was letting go of the idea that I had to transform overnight. I used to believe that real change meant making massive leaps, overhauling my entire routine in one go, but that always led to burnout and disappointment. What actually works is much simpler. Just focus on getting a little bit better, a tiny bit, every single day. 1% might not sound like much, but those small improvements add up faster than you think. Over time, you're not just changing your habits, you're becoming a completely different person. So, here's my challenge for you. Don't just watch another video and move on. Pick one small thing from what you've heard today and actually try it tomorrow. Lay out your workout clothes tonight. Leave your phone in another room. Remind yourself of who you want to be, not just what you want to do. That's how real, lasting change starts. Not with a burst of motivation, but with simple, consistent action. If you stick with this, you'll be amazed at how far you can go. And if you're curious about taking it even further, make sure to stick around, because next time, I'll break down some advanced strategies that helped me level up even faster. But for now, start small. Be the person who actually makes a change. See you in the next one.